Are Star Wars fans misogynistic for the reaction to some of the news that's coming out around Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy and her comments in a CNN interview? Then as a result of that CNN interview, there's been other videos that have been dug up from years ago that are also making the rounds on X, where Chinoy says this:
I like to make men uncomfortable.
Well, I want to take a look at both of these clips in their full context. I don't really just want to react to the clips and the short things that get put out on the internet. I want us to take a closer look and to think to ourselves, is there a fair reaction here that we can have that may not just be an overreaction? Let's take a look at these clips.
Our next guest is an inspiration to women all over the world, including her home country of Pakistan. Filmmaker and activist Shameen Obaid-Chinoy is the only female director to have won 2 Academy Awards by the age of 37. She's also the first woman and the first person of color to direct a Star Wars film. It's set to be released in 2026. You can say that the force is strong with this one. Here's Shameen Obaid-Chinoy.
You know, I'm very thrilled about the project because I think what we are about to create is something very special. And we're in 2024 now. And I think it's about time that we had a woman come forward to shape the story in a galaxy far, far away.
When the Star Wars announcement came out, you posted this on Instagram. You said this, quote, I have always been attracted to the hero's journey. And the world definitely needs more heroes. The blueprints of the heroes we see on screen are rooted in reality, unquote. Now, Sharmeen, as an award-winning documentary filmmaker, you have met and profiled many real-life heroes fighting abuse, fighting violence against women. Is there one real-life hero you met, you filmed, who has stayed with you?
My work takes me right around the world where I focus on grassroots communities. And in my own home country of Pakistan, I'm inspired by so many of these frontline workers. And one of them is Gule Khandana, who runs a school for young women and who has stood up to loud voices that clamored during the attack in Pakistan on schools a few years ago. She has the most incredible story because her husband is her partner and her champion. And it's so important to have male champions in your life who sort of help you when there are difficult times.
How important is it for you to continue to cultivate and to create spaces for the next generation of Pakistani storytellers?
Somebody opened a door for me that allowed me to walk through it and grab the opportunities that have come my way. And it is so important for me to open doors for the next generation of female filmmakers in my own home country of Pakistan. And I founded Pataha Pictures. Pataha means firecrackers. So the idea is to give birth to the next generation of firecrackers in my home country. And I run a funding and mentorship program along with my team in the country. And for the last 2 years, we funded 15 films. We're about to, in 2024, fund another 15 films. And so the idea is that we get as many of these young women the access they need to be able to tell the stories they want to tell. If I can lay the network of the next generation of filmmakers in Pakistan, that is the kind of legacy that I want to leave.
Thank you, Sharmeen, for being the light and lighting the fuse for change makers in Pakistan and all around the world. Thank you for joining us on CNN, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So there you can hear the full interview, or at least the full clip from CNN, where she's asked some follow-up questions. And specifically when they go to an Instagram post where she says she's drawn in by the hero's journey. And that is the first point I want to bring up, that there is something here that draws people to Star Wars. There's something here that people love about Star Wars, and it's not because of the directors or the lightsabers or because of all of the other things around it, but it's because of the story. It's because of the characters in these stories that we get attached to, that go on this hero journey's path, that we get invested in, that we love, and that's what makes Star Wars. When she says that that's what she loves, that's a great thing, and I don't think many fans are seeing that or hearing that because all they hear is the other stuff.
Trying to permeate that patriarchy, that power structure. And is that a part of the calculation of your art as well? And what's been the reaction to that?
Oh, absolutely. I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable. Not you, just not you. Not you.
Point taken. Point taken.
But it is important to be able to look into the eyes of a man and say, I am here, and recognize that. And recognize that I am working to bring something that makes you uncomfortable, and it should make you uncomfortable because you need to change your attitude. And it's only when you're uncomfortable, when you're shifty, when you have to have difficult conversations that you will perhaps look at yourself in the mirror and not like the reflection. And then say, maybe there is something wrong with the way I think, or maybe there is something wrong with the way I am addressing this issue.
So 9 years ago, Chinoy had a conversation that she said she likes to make men feel uncomfortable. And that's now being brought back up and being related back to Star Wars because of this most recent interview. And so people are reacting to this interview from CNN, only this part where she's saying it's about time that a female kind of took lead and wrote the story of Star Wars. But that's never been what Star Wars is about. It's not about who is writing it. It's about the story. And so many Star Wars fans are reacting negatively and saying, well, this is going to be the biggest flop ever, that I'm never going to watch this. True Star Wars fans already have left, so you can do whatever you want to Star Wars now. And the reactions are all based on this CNN interview. But we shouldn't be surprised. This is a lot of what Disney has been doing. But it's not like Chinoy is the first director. She is the first director of a full movie, but we've seen directors in many other roles. We've seen writers in many other roles. While this is a big achievement, we don't necessarily have to make it all about that. When I think you see and hear the larger context of some of the things that Chinoy has done for women, particularly in Pakistan, it should make you have a pause for a moment and think, okay, maybe I should measure my reaction a little. Now, I'm not a fan of bringing identity politics into Star Wars. I'm not a fan of making it all about these other things. So, from my perspective, this does bring up some worry, but I think we can also maybe find a common ground to say there is something beautiful and amazing about connecting to heroes in Star Wars. That it doesn't just have to be the men who are the main characters. But unfortunately, what Star Wars currently in Disney's era has tried to do is tried to force feed and swing so far the other direction because they feel a hyper need to create these other characters. When instead we can just take good story that develops good characters, and as a result, we start loving those characters. Characters like Leia, characters like Ahsoka, who people have loved. People didn't like Rey so much, but I think that had more to do with the writing than it did the fact that she was female. Now, probably a whole nother video could be just made around the storylines and the characters who have impacted people the most. If that's something you're looking forward to, I'm probably going to make that. Make sure you subscribe and turn on that bell for notifications so you don't miss that video. Now, of course, you could also say that when Star Wars Outlaws was announced as an open world video game where you'd play as a female character, some people got upset about that. But again, it wasn't necessarily just about the character being female. It's the fact that we were forced to play that character. Here's my concern. My concern is that this is what the story is going to be about. I don't think there's anything wrong. And in fact, I think we can even celebrate that a Pakistani woman has gotten to this place to be able to direct at this level. That's a great accomplishment. But it's being overshadowed with the desire to just push and push and push to make men feel uncomfortable. Or at least that's the connection that's being made. But we haven't heard Chinoy say that in regards to Star Wars particularly. And when she talks further in the clip, she talks about that our uncomfortability can bring about positive change. All of that I agree with. But you know how to do that? The way to do that best in Star Wars is just tell a great story that impacts lives. Why do we have to talk all about leading up to it, what it is, what this is, what that's going to be, and here's the motivation behind all of it, and all of these things? Instead, what if we just told an amazing story that impacted people's hearts, that got us to think internally, that got us to look at the world around us and maybe look at ourselves and say, maybe I can make a change that impacts the world for the better. Maybe I can sacrifice for someone else. Maybe I can put my own desires and wants on the side for the sake of love. Those are some of the themes of Star Wars. Why not lean into those instead of having to just keep talking about and talking about? So do I think Star Wars fans are being misogynistic? Not necessarily. But I also think we could be more clear with our critiques and more clear in listening to what's actually being said. This isn't just about listing all of the other women who have been a part of Star Wars. I don't think that's the point. Instead, I think the bigger point here is, why can't we just focus on the story and then let the great, amazing story do the heavy lifting, instead of all these other comments that we feel like we have to force in? That's my perspective. That's how I'm approaching this. I'm still going to go see this movie. I'm now a little bit more worried about it. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'd really appreciate your perspective, especially if you're a female who loves Star Wars. Let me know what you think down below. Would really be intrigued to hear from you in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. And remember, the Force will be with you always.